All right, how you doing, Professor? I actually just did a video that I thought was going to be for the whole class, and I realized that I think this is just going to you. So I'm going to restart and get into it. So, what does Christian leadership mean to me? Um, I thought there were two models of leadership, secular models of leadership or leadership development that most closely align with biblical Christianity. And I've made the point in at least one of my papers that I believe that the terms leader and Christian are synonymous. And that's because um, if one is practicing biblical Christianity, then they are going to be exhibiting character qualities, behaviors, and attitudes that are consistent with the values and principles that secular leadership development theory would say is essential or necessary to lead effectively. And biblically speaking, this would be Christ like character and the fruit of the Spirit: um, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and self control. All of these biblical principles, in one form or another, can be found in secular leadership development theory in general. So, having said that, I think the two approaches to leadership theory that most closely align with biblical Christianity are one, servant leadership. And To quote Northhouse here from the leadership text, he said that servant leadership emphasizes the good of the followers over one's own self interest, and emphasizes follower development. Um, so, the overarching theme of a servant leader is one of self sacrifice for the benefit of others. And then the second model of leadership theory I thought most closely aligned with biblical Christianity is authentic leadership. And authentic leadership focuses on the authenticity of one's leadership and whether a leader is considered honest and good. And um, in short, authentic leadership uh, is presented in the Northhouse text as highly self regulatory, relational, and a learned form of leadership that strives for authenticity and transparency with its followers. So, again, I thought those two really just contain so many things that we find in Scripture, um, and we're very compatible with biblical Christianity. Now, having said that, uh, out of all the course studies and maybe some prior knowledge, um, I I compiled seven uh, traits or characteristics that I believe a Christian leader should have, and I'm going to give a very brief movie example for a leader from a movie, a well-known movie, that I believe exemplifies each one of those traits. And I won't expound too much. I'm hoping that you saw some of these movies. I'm pretty sure you have if you like watching movies. So, without any further ado, so what does Christian leadership mean to me? To me, leadership is first modeling the standard of expectation. This principle is universal. Uh, a leader must model the acceptable values and morals of a given community or group of people. And the example I thought of for this was actually the actor Johnny Depp from the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, uh, because even in the realm of, or the community of pirates who are like a subculture, and who are generally seen as despicable and hated by the rest of society, Johnny Depp uh, seemed to model the standard and the acceptable values and morals of that society, which just meant he was the best swindler and probably the most deceiving individual in that community, which elevated him within that community. I thought that was an interesting example of that principle. Um, the second trait is that leadership is influencing others to move toward a common goal. Leaders know how to get others moving towards the destination, whatever and wherever that may be. And one of my favorite movies, Saving Private Ryan, with the actor Tom Hanks, I think really exemplifies this. And if you've never seen that, I highly recommend it. Um, the third trait or characteristic of a leader is leaders inspire others to be the best version of themselves. This requires that a leader be self-regulating, self-aware, and relational enough to connect with others where they're at. And there's a movie with Denzel Washington. It's called Antoine Fisher, and I think that really exemplifies this character quality to a T, really. The fourth characteristics is a leader earns respect of their followers by being all of what I just stated, so having all those characteristics, but consistently. So consistency is huge in leadership, and I thought the leader from the movies who really exemplified this was Mel Gibson in the movie Braveheart. And he not only won the respect of his followers, he eventually won the respect of like dignitaries and noblemen, and I think even like she was like the Queen of France or something. So I thought that was a good example. 5, a leader is able to admit their faults, mistakes, and shortcomings to their followers. This helps a leader to stay humble and helps their followers to feel connected. And I thought the movie War Room with the husband Tony and wife Elizabeth really exemplified this. He screwed up royally on a few occasions, but eventually toward the end of the movie he repented, and he turned away from his sin. He repented to God and changed, and in that way he grew himself, but I believe he also led within his family and modeled the example of repenting. so I thought that was good. The sixth quality, a leader is able to learn from their followers. Good leaders stay teachable. And don't laugh at me for this example, but the series The Crown about Queen Elizabeth on Netflix, I thought in one of the episodes she really exemplified this, where she actually had a private secret audience with one of her harshest critics, and actually, even though she seemed unhappy about it, took his criticism, which was actually good advice, and implemented some of the things that he suggested. And I thought that showed a lot of humility, but was a good example of a leader staying teachable. And then lastly, leaders focus on developing future leaders that will one day surpass them in their achievements. I'm reading from what I wrote here. These 7 traits define who and what a leader is. I believe all the traits listed are rooted in biblical principles for living, which makes this definition of leadership Christian in nature. And the movie I chose for this characteristic of leaders focusing on developing future leaders was the movie Good Will Hunting with Matt Damon, and how there was actually two leaders, the professor who kind of discovered him and the therapist, Robin Williams, who worked with him. I thought really exemplified this. So anyways, those are my examples, and that's like my personal definition of what I think a Christian leader is. Hope you have a great summer, and God bless.